Good evening. I'd like to call to order the July 30th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Let's see here. Just a second, I'm pulling up the
We acknowledge that the city of Kenmore is situated upon the ancestral lands of the Snohomish, Snoqualmie, Soxhawtl, Duwamish, Stillaguamish, Tulalip, Suquamish, Muckleshoot, and other tribes who are part of the Coast Salish peoples. We recognize and express our deepest respect for their enduring stewardship and profound relationship with this land, which they have cherished and protected since time immemorial. We honor the First Peoples, acknowledge their vibrant cultures, and commit ourselves to learning from their wisdom in our journey to promote justice, equity, and mutual understanding. We pledge to stand alongside these communities in acknowledging past injustices and working towards a future that respects and celebrates the diverse heritage of this land.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I see we have no one signed up here. And do we have anyone signed up on video?
There are no public comments tonight.
Okay, so we're going to move to the consent calendar, and with no objection, I would like to amend where it says that Commissioner Wyckoff was absent, to amend that to excused. Okay, are there any, with that amendment in mind, are there objections to the consent calendar? Hearing none, it's adopted. All right. So we're just moving right along here. So the natural environment element is our next item, and I would,
You want me?
I do believe I see a famous staff member coming up to address us on this item.
Actually, Chair, if we could switch the two agenda items and move to the surface water element first. And Richard Sawyer is online and prepared to go through the changes which are highlighted in blue.
Actually, before we get started, who's the new staff member I see over here?
Oh, that's good. A consultant that we don't have to worry about making long dissertations about policy. So, Mr. Sawyer, would you like to speak to the commission before we get started?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. First of all, just check you can all hear me clearly.
Very clearly.
Excellent. Well, I am here to present to you the second time a draft surface water element update. We met in June and received some direction from the commission, and what I've provided for tonight is a revised draft of the element with any updated sections highlighted in blue. And then you should have also had a another document attached, just recording the direction staff received and what we, the changes that we made for each section of the element. So with that, I'm happy to just kind of dive right into it and start reviewing those sections highlighted blue with the commission.
That would be fine. So are there any questions from commissioners about those items highlighted in blue? Any, so I'm looking for a motion to include adoption in the draft element of all items in blue. If you want to amend any items in blue, it would be appropriate to put the motion on the table first.
I would propose a motion for line 24 on page,
Is this in,
a blue change.
okay,
It's not a significant change. It's just the city is spelled CITH on line 24. I think it's just, yeah, that's it.
that's fine. Now, we have in our rules that the administrator may make any typographical or grammatical or numerical corrections without the need of approval by the city planning commission. So I'm going to take it that one falls into that reign, okay? Are there, since we've gotten into amendments, are there other amendments? Hearing none, would someone please move to adopt approval of the blue items?
I'd make a motion to adopt the items that have been changed for the surface water element.
Commissioner Cobb, I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to amend and adopt the recommended element. Are any objections? Hearing none, the amendments in blue are adopted for the draft element. Now, Mr. Sawyer, now that we did that, is there anything else you would like to bring up to the Planning Commission?
No, I think that's all I need for the surface water element update. I would, I guess, ask Debbie if there was any action needed for the amendments to table CFB, the surface water facilities capital improvements, which is also on the agenda.
Thank you. I'm giving a moment to the commissioners to take a look at it and see if there are any items to be, Commissioner Vanderling.
Thank you, Chair. I assume that the amendment and adoption included the table here, which is an integral part of the element. So I don't know that I'd ask that we really need to
do it separately. That it is a part of the element, correct, Debbie?
It's a part of the capital facilities element. So these are changes in the capital facilities element related to surface water.
Okay. So is there a motion to adopt this change to the capital facilities element?
I move to adopt.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded to adopt the amendments to the capital facilities element on this table. Is there further discussion? Staff, this is your last chance to let us know if there's anything that is on this table that represents a major change in our city's policy.
The table is consistent with the goals set forth in this updated element.
Hearing no further comment from commissioners, is there any objection to adoption of this motion? Hearing none, the motion is adopted, and this will be part of the element which we will go forward with for the surface water element, with the understanding that it's a amendment to the capital facilities element.
Correct.
Right, so now do we have anything else that the commission wants to bring up with regard to the surface water element? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to move the surface water element as amended to be forwarded to the city council for action.
I move to,
For a second,
Second.
all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? I heard a deep breath during the ayes there, I wasn't sure. Okay, then the motion has been adopted unanimously, and we are done, except to show up at the city council meeting for and present it for the surface water element.
Excuse me, Chair Thompson, before we get too far into this, if you look at the staff memo,
Oh.
right one here,
September 3rd, there's a hearing with
this
Planning
was-
Commission.
this was to, for the changes that were shown in blue. If there were no further changes, then this was to ask for
Oh,
a
that's
recommendation to
correct.
schedule
I
a public hearing.
stepped a little early, so we'll, if, oh. So the motion that I will make is that instead of going to the city council, that we will go to public hearing with this. Is any second?
second,
And then are there any objections to that amendment? Hearing none, the motion has now been corrected. We'll go to public hearing. I'm sorry for that. All right, so next on the, thank you, Mr. Sawyer. We hope that you're happy with a short evening with us.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate all your help on getting this element updated. Thank you.
Welcome. We'll see you at the public hearing, I guess.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So we're going to move on to the natural environment element, and I will give the staff a moment to bring to light anything that they believe we should be enlightened on.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So similarly to the surface water element, we bring back to you the natural environment element, as well as two sections of Kenmore Municipal Code for your review. So specifically for the natural environment element, this will be just like the previous element you just looked at with Mr. Sawyer. Those items that were changed at the last meeting are highlighted in blue. So I'll ask if the commission has any questions regarding those, and kind of do the same exercise, and then we can either, if you have any additional comments or questions on the natural environment element, And then just wanted to quickly go through the definitions or the two sections first, because I know we spent the majority of our time over the last couple of meetings to go over the element itself, so.
Okay, so first we'll deal with the element, then we'll deal
The
with the
changes in blue,
definition.
yeah,
Is that all right?
right.
Okay, so as we discussed at the last meeting, we were going to take the blue elements as a whole. So the proper way to do this is to have a motion to adopt the blue items highlighted and include them into the draft of the natural environment element. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I move that we accept the blue highlighted sections here and include them in the natural element.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now before us are the blue highlighted sections and only those. Are there any commissioners that wish to bring up items related to those? Quietness is a good thing, I think, at this point. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dorian. I thought we were all asleep for a moment.
The only question I have is 4D27, lines 10 through 14.
Okay, so page 27, just give us all a chance to find where.
What page was that?
4D27. I'm not sure which page of the PDF it is, but
Yeah, page 27 of the packet,
27 of the packet.
Oh, there it is.
or the element, sorry. Yeah, not the packet.
Sometimes my numbers do not print correctly. Or I've got them backwards. Just a second, please, while I
That's right there. Yeah, lines 10 through 14.
Yeah, but number 33.
what, page 33? No, I thought it was 4.
Yeah, 4D27.
Okay, let's go ahead. Commissioner.
Just the question, because I know there was discussion last time around these two policies. Just confirming with the rest of the commission that does align with what we were suggesting. The policy NE 319 reads now as if we would allow future siting of public access trails within wetlands. So I just wanted to check that that was what we were intending when we discussed last time.
Any comments from any of the commissioners or staff on that? Go ahead, Commissioner Olson.
I believe the language is to control future public access to trails and ensure where allowed that they're carefully cited, critical habitats and species are protected, and hydrologic continuity is maintained. I think the idea is we're limiting use. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily limiting use. We are protecting wetlands by ensuring only scientific and traditional cultural uses for public access in the previous policy. And that's in line. And then the next policy is just to allow for those trails.
Commissioner Benezinski.
Yeah, thank you for raising this, Commissioner Dorian. I think the thrust of my arguments last time were that I would like us to move away from citing new trails in wetlands, and I think policy NE 3.1.9 does read I think it does, in my mind, diverge a bit from at least what my intention was. I think that my understanding was that it was like Commissioner Olson said, that maybe future access trails might be necessary for scientific or traditional cultural use, but separating them out into two policies doesn't, on my reading, really kind of reflect what my intention was.
Do you have a proposed amendment that we can fix this with? We can start anywhere. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just looking back at the notes that I took specifically regarding, and this was kind of amongst the planning commission, so I just wanted to bring it back to your attention. So specifically, looked like Commissioner Banashinsky brought it up about, mixed feelings about public access to wetlands and recreational use. And then Commissioner Wyckoff then suggested educational interpreted, and then Commissioner Vanderlyn suggested public and include allowed and controlled access. And then ultimately, I think the motion was brought together to kind of consider splitting these in two separate things, which is why we have now a 3.1.8 and 3.19. And that's where those two were created. So we split them in two, and then the language to de-emphasize the recreational part of the trail. And it's still showing that it's, showing that these are important, but you're not, like Commissioner Banashinsky just said, that these are, we're trying not to emphasize the recreational part of it. So that's where I just found the notes. Kind of remind everybody.
I think
Commissioner Dorian.
I might have a motion. I'll try and do this live. So I would motion that we change policy, the wording of policy NE 3.1.9 to control future public access to trails and ensure where allowed, and then cut they are carefully cited and just go to critical habitats and species are protected. So it would read, control future public access to trails and ensure where allowed, critical habitats and species are protected and hydrologic continuity is maintained.
Okay, so you added the word to.
And removed, they are carefully cited.
Or careful, that's what I thought you did. Okay. So that's the amendment to the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Hearing none, the motion is adopted. Mr. Hall, are we good on that? Okay, great.
Yes, thank you.
So are there any more amendments to the motion related to the blue items? And I don't see Commissioner Condrey raising his yellow hand, so that's probably a good sign. Okay. I call the question. All those in favor? I saw a hand go up. Go ahead. Commissioner Olson.
Page 4D 28, line 29. I was just reading this again, and I thought we'd come to a conclusion on this item. But just as it reads now, policy NE 3.2.4 reads, areas of river will be cool enough to support Chinook salmon migration and survival, parenthesis, increase riparian cover, and add thermal refugia and parenthesis, and then by 2025. I would propose an amendment to shift by 2025 into those parentheses. The way I'm reading it right now, it reads as if we're saying we will have the water cool enough by 2025, and I frankly don't think that's realistic, as much as I would like that to be the case.
I think we're gonna put swamp coolers in extremes. Yeah, so you were gonna make a comment, Mr. Holm?
Yeah, I'd see where there's, the bracket should include 2025 at the end. So yeah, we can make that change. That's an easy,
Minor grammatical thing.
yep. Thanks for the clarification.
Hmm. The question I would have for the commission, so are we talking about by 2025, just those items in the parentheses? Or do you mean the main idea, starting with the first word of the policy through to survival? Because structurally, when in a this type of element that's going to be passed by the council, the things that are within the parentheses are for those items. And then if it's not in parentheses, then it's for the whole thing. So I had another thought, by 2025, are we talking about by January 1st of 2025 or December 31st of 2025? So maybe 2026 might be a better.
I think this language was taken directly from RIA 8, and it applies to the entire Sammamish River. So I just confirmed, Richard Sawyer just confirmed with me where that language came from.
From RIA 8, WRIA 8.
Yeah, Debbie asked me to jump in, so I noticed this at the last meeting, but yeah, this line is actually just taken directly from the RIA 8 Salmon Recovery Council's recovery plan.
Okay.
So I think it's great to include here, but just wanted to add the context that this is a goal set by RIA 8 for the entire span of the Sammamish River.
This was also given to us by Fish and Wildlife. This was a comment from them. So
Thank you.
that's where it came from.
Commissioner Olson, you had your hand up.
I just wanted to actually clarify this because I think I might have read it wrong. It says areas of river, so it's not necessarily implying the entire river, at which point I would withdraw my proposed change to put that into the bracket. It's just saying that there should be places in the river by 2025 that are cool enough to support salmon migration. So upon rereading that, I withdraw my amendment.
Okay, does the second withdraw their second? No, withdraw the second. Who was the seconder on that motion, may I ask?
I actually have it as a grammatical because it was just moved, so I don't have a second.
Oh, well. Okay. So with no, it's not the most greatest way to do this, but with no objection, the commissioner allows the withdrawal of that motion. So be it. Okay, now, do we have other items? Commissioner Dorian?
Same one, actually. As I'm looking at it now a bit more, it does stand out as not parallel with the other policies. So all of the other ones, and here's where my grammar's going to fail me, I think they're kind of exhortations So increase, protect, support, etc. Whereas this is just a statement about something that will happen, which I guess is fine, but the technical writer in me wants to make it parallel. I'm wondering if we could almost switch it so that actually the exhortation is increase riparian cover and add thermal refugia so that areas of river will be cool enough to support Chinook salmon migration and survival. Just for parallelism, that's a little bit nerdy, but
For the record, exactly where are you talking about?
this is the 4028 lines 27 through 29.
Okay. Still on the same. So your motion is?
I would motion to change the wording of policy NE 3.2.4 to increase riparian cover and add thermal refugia so that areas of river will be cool enough to support Chinook salmon migration and survival. Period.
Okay, so first, but by 2000, that means.
I would leave that off because I think most of the other ones don't have a date. So I think it's more just the exhortation that we do it, and then the date is handled in the implementation.
Okay, so that does staff and our clerk understand the motion? Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second, that motion. I think unless there's any questions from the commission, I think we all understand it. Now it's open for discussion. Well, I'd like to point out that the by 2025 is an edit which was recommended by Fish and Wildlife. And if so, that carries tremendous weight for a variety of reasons. So I would move to amend the motion and add back in by 2025.
Second.
You second. Okay. Is there any further discussion on the amendment to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is adopted. Now we're back to the other amendment, which is what Commissioner Dorian has suggested. Is there further discussion on that motion? Staff have any concerns?
Nope, it's saying the same thing, just in a different order, so.
Say it differently, right? Okay, are there any objections to the motion? And then hearing no objections, then the motion is adopted unanimously. Is there any further discussion or motions on the main amendment to the motion on the main amendment, main motion? I must be running a little slow tonight.
So just to point or request for information, I guess. So the motion's on the table, the motion to amend it by adding back in by 2025 passed.
The whole thing, your whole motion was adopted with the 2025.
Got it.
That's already been done. So our main motion is the inclusion of the blue items.
Got it.
So anything we do to amend the blue items is an amendment to the main motion. And then you're allowed to.
This is
ahead.
Commissioner. Thank you. I'm looking at 4D32, in particular policy NE 4.1.6. I'm concerned about the private individuals part. I think private individuals can obviously enhance habitat wildlife projects on their own properties, but not on public property, from my understanding. So at this point, I would move to make a motion to change that by saying promote voluntary fish and wildlife habitat enhancement projects by private individuals on their own property, as well as businesses through educational incentive programs.
First, I have to ask if the clerk has got that.
I have what Commissioner Quadri is proposing, but I am not sure that we finished the last.
We did adopt the 2025.
The 2025 is,
That's
okay, so we are good. Okay,
We're all good on that one.
Perfect.
So we can move on to.
so yes, I have what he would like to do.
Okay, so problems with my. So, what? Okay, you're on page.
It's 4D32. That's policy 4.1.6. And what I'm proposing is to have for private individuals to specify private on their own properties. I do think there's kind of a liability issue. It's a bit misleading here, where individuals may think that they could go around creating enhancement projects on public property, which certainly is not legal. So I just want to specify by stating that it can be done on their own property.
Okay, so the actual motion is to insert on their own property after the word
Correct.
individuals.
Correct.
So that if I may administratively change that motion to so that's more clearly understood. Is that okay with you?
Yes, that's fine.
So before us, it's been moved and is there a second?
Second.
And seconded to insert the words on private property after the word individuals on line 7 on that page. Further discussion, Commissioner Banazinski.
I'm wondering if it should be put after businesses. Why we would need to specify for private individuals, but not for businesses, that the projects would be on their own property.
Commissioner Qadri.
Well, I do think that nonprofits and businesses may they have the capacity to be able to have these enhancement projects as opposed to private individuals. What I'm seeing is how it's read right now is any private individual can go to a public place and create a enhancement project, which I don't think that would be allowed, or I don't think that's legal, is my concern here. I think it's great, but I think it would be illegal for them to do that. But whereas a business, certainly if they own that property, yeah, absolutely, I think that would make sense as well to include that for businesses too. So I would want to include on their property after businesses too. That's my motion here.
Well,
So I agree with you, Tracy.
so go ahead, Commissioner Olson.
I suppose I'm wondering if there's a way to make it clear that voluntary fish and wildlife habitat enhancements can occur on private property, but perhaps, I need to think how I'd phrase this. Maybe our wordsmith, David Dorian, can help me out there. But to me, if you have a voluntary group of people that are willing to show up with coordination, is there a way to do that legally so long as it's a project that's been approved by proper bodies. And because when I read this, it seems like a way of trying to get, you know, mobilization of volunteers to do work potentially on some public property. But I see the concern about the way that this is written right now with this being done, seen as like, oh, we're going to promote letting people make these changes without going through proper channels. I'll noodle on how I'm gonna phrase this as an amendment, but.
Commissioner Vanderleen.
I was actually thinking very much along the lines of Commissioner Olson's thinking here about what's the approval process. I think the gist of this is that we want to encourage public and private participation in improving the wildlife habitat. My concern here, though, in reading, that doesn't come through in the language that's here, but my additional concern is who approves that determines that it's truly an enhancement. If I can do on my property basically anything I determine to be an enhancement, that's opening a world of potentials. I think an enhancement would be a lovely embankment along my to prevent. So I think we need to have some kind of approval process or understanding that we want to encourage public participation and certainly funding of projects that enhancement projects that are consistent with, and I'm trying to go to language here, consistent with the goals and objectives of the city's wildlife protection program, whatever that is.
Commissioner.
You could just
Okay.
take out private individuals and businesses. I think you're wrapping, I think what you're really trying to do is promote this effort, not to who, but just in general, promote it. And I think if you took out private individuals and businesses, you might get there.
So for someone to
Yeah.
do that, they'd have to have a permit anyway, is what you're, is that?
It depends where they were doing it. So again, I don't think we want to get too much into depth about how you do it. We just say this is something that we want to do. How you do it would be part of the implementation measures, whether it's through codes or permits or whatever that would be.
What if we put just promote approved voluntary fish and wildlife habitat enhancement projects? Just put approved after promote. I think that would solve this issue.
Right, so
So I take back my previous motion and make another motion to include approved after promote and leave everything as is. So promote approved voluntary fish and wildlife habitat enhancer projects by private individuals and businesses through educational incentive programs.
is there any objection to the maker's editing of his motion? Hearing none, I will continue to have this amendment to the main motion with just approved between the words promote and voluntary. Right? Is that correct? Saad?
That's correct, yes.
Can I just get quick clarification that we're on their own properties, we're removing at this?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct, yes.
All right, thank you.
We're just dealing with that word approved. Are there any further comments? Hearing none, is there any objections to this amendment? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted into the draft element. Next item, blue items only, folks. Hearing no further comments from the Planning Commission. Well, are there any objections to the main motion being approved, and that is the inclusion of all blue items as amended to the draft element that we are considering. No objections, then the amendment motion is adopted as amended. All right. Now, the next question comes, does anyone here have a burning item that they wish to bring up to the commission about this element for the comprehensive plan? Commissioner Banazinski.
I think these are just questions of clarification, things I missed on the 2 or 3 times that we've read it. They're for staff. On page 4D 13, line 33, just want to make sure that it should be excludes all waters in the Lake Washington watershed. Is that correct? Instead of includes?
Yeah, this was how it
It was-
was
that's how
written
it was written.
before, so nothing's changed.
Okay,
Yeah.
it struck me as odd for some reason.
Mhm.
And then on 4D.
Well, let's just wait a second.
Okay.
So what Commissioner Banazinski is saying, however, is that excludes word an error anyway.
Oh,
I can see where consider that.
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think it should be includes.
Okay, then I move to change on page 4D 13, line 33, excludes, change to includes.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by the chair for striking excludes and replacing with includes on line 33. Clerk, are we okay on that? Is there any further discussion? Are there any objections to the motion? Approval of the motion? Hearing none, the amendment to the amendment is adopted. Commissioner Banazinski.
This is just another thing that I for some reason didn't catch on the first couple of readings, but this is on page 4D 16 on line 6. It talks about the urban tree canopy assessment being conducted in 2023, but then in parentheses, it says 2021 data. I think I could use a little bit of clarification about why those dates don't match up, or is the data that follows from 2021, or what's the relationship to 2023 and
Yeah, so
2021 there?
what I meant here was, and if it needs further clarification, we can. So basically this urban tree assessment was funded by King Conservation District, was conducted or completed in 2023 using 2021 data. So it's, a lot of these reports are including a lot of the things that we use to support the comprehensive plan aren't 2024 things, it's things from a year or 2 prior. So that's what this is meaning. So if we need to further clarify that, we can, but that's what that's intended to be.
Yeah, I think the way you just said it was exceedingly clear. It was conducted in 2023 using 2021 I think I
Yeah.
would say that. Yeah, then I wouldn't
You could
get
say
tripped up.
using 2021 data.
Yeah.
And get rid of the parentheses.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I can make
That
that
your
change.
motion?
Yes, I move to,
I heard it.
okay,
So we're going to strike the parentheses and put using between 2023 and 2021. Chair seconds. Is there any further discussion on that motion? So is there any objections to adopting that motion? Okay, the amendment to the amendment is adopted. All right, is there any other items? Everybody clear on all of the maps and everything? Is there any? Commissioner Banazinski?
I actually do have a question about one of the maps. It's 4D8. It is the streams and wetlands map or figure, I guess. I'm curious how accurate it is with regard to the wetlands in particular.
Yeah, if we didn't mention it before, as with any of these wetland maps, these are not accurate by the foot in any sense or shape or form. A lot of these are done by National Wetland Inventory. And so the only way to get a true sense of exactly what's out there is to have it delineated on site. So these are estimates based on data that we're given by multiple agencies. And NWI is one of those that's been around for many decades. And that's, yeah, so I guess that, you know, if we need to put a asterisk or something in there that,
But no,
you know, a footnote that said this is just a estimate, and, you know, to get clear boundaries of wetlands and streams, they need to be delineated.
you know, is this the only figure map that has that type of consideration? That
I would say that would go with any of these maps. So that would be the geologic hazard area map, this map. You know, the drainage basins are pretty consistent. That's from, you know, it's probably Wyra, I would imagine, too. And Richard, if you're still there, you could jump in. I'm guessing that's where these maps come from.
But even that one could have a little
Yeah,
bit
I
of a
mean,
change.
again, these are all estimates. So we could put somewhere as a footnote or the end of the document that say that these are all maps in this element are, you know, to the best of our knowledge, you know, so some we can come up with some. I know Richard probably has, you know, GIS, we just have a standard language we could probably use.
Okay,
I think it would be best if they could be, you know, this is a snapshot of what we've got now, but for the most current data, you know, refer to the city's online GIS maps.
Yeah.
and that it's an estimate, the exact. you know,
Exactly.
you said
Again,
that.
like I said, if you want exact boundaries, you have to hire a wetland consultant to go out there and
Right.
do ground truthing. So.
Well, for any of these, so that's the word estimate, I think, needs to, with the other thought that
Yeah.
you had. Okay, I see head nods, including Commissioner Cadre and his computer, I see. So this is a recommendation by staff that they'll administratively take care of this?
Yep.
Is there any objection to the inclusion of that without any further blue markings? Objection, you have an objection? Commissioner Olson?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's so much an objection, it's just a note. I think it would be good to have whatever comment this is on the actual map figures. So if something gets snipped, it can be included.
That's likely what I'll suggest. We have, there's in planning and any GIS maps or maps for that matter, there's usually standard language that we'll have. And so I'll talk with Amanda tomorrow and see what our standard language the city uses. And that's probably where we'll just have a stamp on the map for any maps that we have. And that'll take care of it.
Well,
Yep.
a stamp or a footnote.
Yep.
You know, the problem with overall stamps in my experience is it's sometimes covers other items that the public or half blind commissioners may not be able to make out. So
We can put both. Yeah, it's fine. I'll put it in the language somewhere in there, but we'll also put it on the physical map itself which is a standard practice anyway. So I can put it in both.
in a
spots.
footnote on the
Mhm.
map, okay.
Yep.
Is there any objection for staff making those additions as a technical addition without need to come back? Okay, so you have permission to do that, and you don't need to blue line or anything. We've accepted that. Okay, now, any other hot items from the commission?
If I could jump in, I can actually, I had to look up some information, but on the previous, I think it was Commissioner Benezinski that mentioned the item on under the ESA on page 13 regarding the Puget Sound DPS steelhead exclusion. So that actually is meant to be excluded. I had to quickly try and go find the ESA documentation, but the Secretary of Commerce actually has discretion to exclude areas from designation based on a variety of parameters. And so I think primarily economic reasons, that line is actually in the ESA designation listing. And I'm happy to look further and confirm that, but if exclude is the correct word, I would just note that we should keep that consistent with what the ESC designation actually does say, which I do think they mean to say exclude.
Just steelhead, right? That paragraph has to do with steelhead.
Yes, I believe that they removed Lake Washington, Lake Sammamish, and Sammamish River from the designation based on economic factors. But the rest of Puget Sound remains designated as critical habitat.
Thank you for looking into that, Richard.
So, yeah.
Well, whatever is factually correct is what we should do. So if it really is excludes, then we should.
So
We should
the
keep
motion again
excludes.
is to revert includes to excludes on line 33.
And I'm happy to follow up with Todd and we'll figure out what the correct word is. And that's what you will see in the next edition.
Well, okay, Commissioner Olson.
I suppose I was just wondering if we could make the amendment to say, change it to whatever is correct and consistent with, I forgot what document you were looking at, Richard, but ESA, thank you. And then we can adopt that, right? So the change can be made once staff confirms.
Well, I would suggest that we go back to the original language and then with the caveat that should it need to be changed because of the ESA, then the staff could consider that a technical change.
Okay.
So that's a motion. Would someone care to second it?
Second.
Okay, I made the motion. Okay. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Phew. Okay. Now, anything you change there is okay, as long as we have two staff members that look at it and that we consider it technical. Okay, that's what the motion was. So,
yep,
I
got it.
You're right. Okay, yeah. So there's no bluing on this for the hearing. Okay, last round here. Other items. Okay. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to take this element, which we have provided edits for, and take it to public hearing?
So moved.
Seconded by the chair. This would be the main motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicate by saying nay. Okay, the motion is adopted. Now, I believe we're going to go to the regulations, correct?
Yeah, so
Okay.
there's two chapters that I've amended. The first one is amendments to chapter 1820, which is the technical terms and land use definitions. I may have briefly mentioned this at the last meeting, but I'll clarify again that these are ones that were added either to further add because these are terms that are called out in our existing element that should have been added before, or they've been suggested by Fish and Wildlife. So that's the impetus of this being changed, and for no other reason. So it's not subjective or anything like that. It's just really like looking at what terms are called out, and it's just really trying to strengthen this section so that we're calling out. But if you have any feedback for these additional terms that have been added, just please let me know.
Okay, the floor is open to commission. Commissioner Dorian.
I have one a long way down. So if anybody's got one further than that, we could take that first. But just given in the element, we've changed guidance around recommendation for public walkways in wetlands. There is a section that deals with that in the code that I'm seeing. I cannot see the page number in my
No, you
version.
don't. How about the actual code number that you're referring to? 1820?
1855-320.
1855.
Oh, right now we're reviewing 1820.
Oh, we're just looking at this one,
Yeah,
sorry.
I'll go to
Okay,
1855 shortly, but yeah, we're just doing the technical terms and then I'll do the next one.
Gotcha.
So we're doing 1820.
1820
Okay,
first.
I just
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
make sure.
yeah. Thank you.
Any further comments or motions on 1820? Okay, hearing none, now we're going to go to
So 1855, same applies. Just trying to strengthen this element, or sorry, not element, chapter of 1855. So just looking for any additional feedback you might have.
remind us the yellow highlighted ones, or is that? the
Oh,
way-
these are the, yes, apologize for the color, but it's, these are just the new language. So the underline is new, strike is remove. And then the highlights are, those are the newly added, that might actually, sorry about that. These were added from the last meeting that I had. So I think that's what I added. Erosion hazard, landslide, I just clarified those additional ones, but that's really the extent of it. The rest of it is basically take it for the strike and delete.
Okay,
Sorry to muddy the water, but yeah. And of course, we'll bring back both a strike and delete, no highlights, plus a full clean version for everything at next meeting. So we'll do that regardless.
Right. I'm giving the commission a little extra time here, just to make sure we're all good. I do have a question. So the, in 1855-420, that chart there comes from? Question mark.
For 20.
It's in these are the adopted regulations. These are the stream
Yeah.
buffers.
Okay,
So again, we're not getting into a full do-over of critical area regulations now. These are just the changes that when Fish and Wildlife reviewed it, suggested.
Adjusted for now, and then we are going to be reviewing it upon the next cycle for critical areas updates. So
okay.
we're not doing a wholesale change. Yeah, we just did this, or Debbie and Lori did this back in 2019. So
19.
Okay.
So we did that in conjunction with the shoreline regulations and the shoreline element. So
that's where this
That-
chart comes
this will,
from.
yeah, this was done in 2019 and was approved by Ecology at the time. And so the next scheduled update will be 2026, 2027.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Chair,
Oh, Commissioner Dorian.
I think I can probably bring back the 1855-320. So appreciate that additional context that staff just gave. In that context, we do now have a disparity between what we're proposing in the element and what the code is saying, though, because in the element we're suggesting we don't want to cite new walkways, whereas in the code now it's an approved use. So I guess point of information first, is that something that we should try and handle at this time, or is there going to be a future time where we should look at that?
I would say that's sort of getting more into more substantive changes and could impact other parts of the critical area regulations if we're looking at where trails and things might be allowed either in the buffers and or in critical areas.
yeah, I would say that these are always changing, and best available science is always changing. So there's a reason why we go through this exercise every 6 to 7 years, critical area speaking now, not comp plan. These regulations will be looked at again in the next cycle, and we'll certainly have a consultant on board because we're not experts, as you can tell. So we just like any other major update, like, middle housing or critical areas or something like that, we're going to have somebody that's going to come in and do a review, and they would, of course, work with the planning commission and work through these things. But for now, we're just doing kind of these minor updates as needed since we're doing the comp plan update. So
I think furthermore, comprehensive updates or technical edits related to the best available science could probably almost happen every other year. But I'm saying that in a little facetiously, not meaning that we need to do it, but
Right.
boy, things are moving fast. So that's just a comment. Right, so any further questions or feedback for the staff on this? Anything else?
oh,
Okay, the staff says that's it. So and we'd have to take this to public hearing, correct?
Correct.
So move that the regulations portion of the document that is the natural environment element before us be finalized and goes to public hearing. Chair moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Good. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Folks, this is your last chance. Oh, of course, Commissioner Olson, thank you for saving us from.
Apologies, I'm reading through the definition of 18.55.320, section B, allowed uses with wetland buffers. And we've got walkways and trails, provided they are limited to minor crossings, having no adverse impact on water quality. And they should generally parallel the perimeter. And then they should be limited to pervious surfaces no more than 5 feet in width and designed for pedestrian use only. Raised boardwalks utilizing non-treated pilings may be acceptable. I'm wondering why it's 5 feet specifically. That seems a little arbitrary to me. And I also wonder this simply because let's say we have a newly established wetland and there is a potential for a trail to go through an established wetland from, I don't know, say there's an outfall that from a drainage structure that's creating wetland plants and that gets surveyed and shown as a wetland. Would that preclude the potential for a trail to be put through because that area now is technically a wetland?
We're getting into very technical arenas here in terms of what is or isn't a defined wetland and what could or couldn't be allowed. It would be more on a case-specific basis. So I think it would be really hard to include something in here that would address that specific point because it would depend.
Okay.
I mean, the one thing that you could suggest is if we didn't want to be so specific as you just remove that sentence specifying the 5 feet. So you just leave it at old growth and mature trees. And maybe you just remove that reference to 5 feet.
Yeah, I think I like that because we're already saying it's designed for pedestrian use. So we're not going to make a highway through this area. It's going to be for pedestrians. And then it's not necessarily, we're not necessarily going to end up in a situation where we're narrowing something just because we're going through a wetland is, I guess, my thought. I suppose I need to make a motion. I move to remove they should be limited to pervious surfaces designed for pedestrian use only, and remove no more than 5 feet in width. And on line 27 and 28.
Okay, so could you, for our information, read the sentence after how you would like it to read it after your amendment? Just read it to us once.
They should be limited to pervious surfaces designed for pedestrian use only.
And that's it.
Yep.
Okay. So, and you've made that motion.
Yes.
Okay, clerk, are we good? Commission understands the motion. Okay, it's been moved, and is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. And the clerk understands the motion, the rest of the commission does. So, is there any further discussion? Commissioner Banasinski.
Todd, can you give us some background about why it was, why that was added and why, do you know why 5 feet was recommended?
Again, I think this was a fish and wildlife thing, just to kind of keep it reduced. One thing that when you're speaking is, do you want to consider anything in there to ensure ADA compliance? I mean, that might be getting too specific, but I think that I don't know.
I think those are different regulations
Yeah.
that you would have to review. And again, it's going to be on a case-by-case
Case-by-case,
basis.
yeah.
So I would avoid getting too specific about that. I think it would be part of the overall review.
Plus, the DEI thing will address anything that needs to be addressed related, because that includes some disability issues. So I personally am not worried about it. I personally would, I don't care if you do that. So are we gonna let that? So we still have a motion before us, okay. Further discussion on that motion? Then all those in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, the amendment to the amendment is adopted. Further items before we, okay, the main motion is to move this to public hearing. That's the summary. As is with no clean copy. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 And those opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimously moved to public hearing. That's a clean copy. That's the other. No. So we have completed the 2 work items. Is there anything else that the staff would like to bring before us?
I'll just note, for the next meeting, we have a hearing scheduled, for August 20th for the downtown element and the community design element. So we just, got that, publication out. The reason why we met tonight is staff will be on vacation, so the next meeting will be on August 20th for those 2 elements for hearing. And then the following meeting after that will be these elements that you reviewed tonight for a public hearing. So that would be surface and natural environment plus the 2 chapters we just reviewed. So that'll be on September 3rd. So those will be the next couple of meetings. In addition to those 2 meetings, we're going to be bringing to you some amendments to both housing and land use elements with regards to non-middle housing items. So these would be kind of affordable housing issues and anything else that needed to be amended based on kind of new changes that we've come up with. I don't know if does that sound right, Debbie, if you want to add to that.
No, that sounds right. So since 22, it's sort of changes in countywide policies that we need to kind of be consistent with. So again, King County has checklists. So we need to make sure that
Right.
we're in compliance with those. So it's largely to be in compliance with the King County countywide planning policies
Yeah.
is what those changes are.
Yeah, we're meeting with the King County Affordable Housing Committee right now. They've reviewed it. They're giving us comments on Thursday this week. And we'll have those for you ready to go at that meeting. So you'll have the hearing plus those 2 meetings. We can review those changes, and then
And those-
later.
And their comments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And then the middle housing will come back in September, the second meeting in September. And that's when Clay and Nick will be back to share with you their draft policies with regards to middle housing. So we wanted to separate those two out because that's a lot to just review all at once. So we know middle housing is a big deal, but we also want to take time for the rest of the housing and land use items. So that'll be coming forward in the next two meetings.
As chair, I would personally appreciate let's call them detailed, within reason, notes from those meetings that you have that directly relate to the counties or whomever's feedback on what they think is good and bad on how we're doing. That doesn't mean we have to take their words, but I really believe this is going to be a hot topic for the council. I think it's important that we put on record what is being told to us by other agencies, which we need to take into consideration. I want to really build the record so that the council has something to look at how we got to where we got, other than just the public hearing. Okay. So to be certain, the council does not have a regularly scheduled meeting on the first Monday of the month, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And the reason I'm asking is because of Labor Day, and September 3rd is one of those hearings. And I know from time to time, we've been bounced out of their office here. And I want to make sure we got that all figured out now.
Yeah, at the last meeting, if you recall, we asked if the commission, if the attendance would be, who would be here for September 3rd? Oh,
we're all good on that.
So the first council meeting in September is September 9th, so you don't have to worry about it.
Good.
yeah, no. And that would be
Thank you.
the night that you would bring recommendations for all of these elements that we just reviewed. So that would be downtown, community, and all these three tonight. We're kind of getting pushed up against the clock. And
Oh,
so,
yes, but I thought we were having at the second meeting in August?
which ones? Tonight's?
Wait, what, excuse me, Chair, what were you thinking we were doing at the
Okay, let's
second
go
meeting in
through the
August?
hearings. The first double hearing is on August.
So August 20th will be your hearing for downtown element and community design.
And
September 3rd,
that's why I was
planning
concerned.
commission hearing on the surface natural environment. Then the following week, we're going to be asking for your recommendations to go forward
Following meeting.
the following meeting. So it's a little atypical to be that quick, but
That's fine. I
we're-
just wanted to make sure. The reason I was asking about September 3rd is because we were having that hearing,
yeah.
and I wanted to make sure we're not going to be bounced out of their
no.
office.
And so once we get through all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements, the only remaining ones will be left will be the housing and the land use. And with, no, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, be careful.
There are some minor ones that I had to make to the parks element. Again, this is because of maps And
But it was very minor. It was,
Very
it was
minor,
basically
so-
just changing the name from
Like
Squires Landing
editing,
to
it's
it's
Oh,
very,
Tlumpedes.
yeah, it's
So-
very editorial. So
But we have to do it.
we have,
here.
you have to do it. And so again, I'm gonna try to squeeze these in the next couple of meetings. It may be one where, it may be the one that Clay and Nick come, that we could just do it really quickly, because Parks element is one that's another type of like, critical areas where the pros plan, that's a whole separate process that's gonna be required of us in the next couple of years, so.
If these are really more administrative and technical changes due to rules up above and not having to really making policy like we've been doing today, I'm would inquire to the commission whether we can, if you think it'll be quick, if we can go ahead and do it on the 3rd after the hearings, so that then you would be able to have a hearing on that. We would have to have a hearing on that little piece, right?
Let's, we don't need to get into scheduling right now, so let us try and figure out the best way to bring back some of these changes. But again, they are very editorial, very minor, and you should be able to get through those quickly, but let us figure out the best schedule to bring those back
Because
to
I
you.
was just trying to help you add another
know.
piece to a public hearing that we've already got scheduled.
Yeah, it's the, I'm just looking at my list on what the remainder ones, it's the introduction section, which is very tiny. And
Tiny,
the,
I'm gonna hold your.
yeah, it
hold
is,
that
it's
to you.
very small, and the Parks and Rec element with regards to maps and some other little minor edits, and that's it. So those should be easy.
Yeah, okay,
Good.
I just was trying to get the hearing done, because
Yeah.
if they're easy,
Yep.
we can be easy.
Oh, I know.
I mean, appropriately easy. I
Yep,
didn't
so
want the
we'll-
public to think otherwise.
It's just a heads up for what's coming, and we'll
That's all.
figure out the schedule to try and make it work.
Yeah.
Okay, so other than that, what you've sent to us as far as the planning commission schedule is,
That's correct.
is 90% still there.
That's right.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
we're moving along.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Deb. Did you folks have anything else you wanted to talk to us about?
Oh, not at all.
Right. Lady and gentlemen, anything for the good of the order? Well, I like that. Clerk, it is 8:28, and this meeting of the Planning Commission is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Right.
Good night.
Thank you. Night.
For Derek, he must still be having staff nightmares. No, he didn't.